Welcome to the Burgundy Gold Knuckleheads podcast. As always, riding a 2-game winning streak. My main man, Reggie, what's going on, bud?
What up? What up? What up? 2 games, huh?
What's that?
2 games.
2 games. You got to win 2 before it becomes a streak, right? One game is just one game, but as soon as you win that second one, now you're on a streak.
We're going to Super Bowl.
You definitely got to get on a streak when you get to the playoffs.
No, I'm playing. Anybody listening? I'm playing. Well, so people might not know, Ken. They might not know my sense of humor and know that I'm.
You know what? We stand. Everybody that makes it to the playoffs stands a chance, right? You don't get in.
That's not true.
But anyway,
we made the playoff at 7-9. We stood no chance.
Hold on, we saw that was the magic of Heineke, man. That was Heineke taking on Tampa Bay, diving for the pylon. You were there at the sports bar with me. That place was going nuts off of this unknown Taylor Heineke. That was a great game.
It was a hell of a game, and the fact that we were 7-9 and almost beat the Buccaneers and Tom Brady and all of the excitement surrounding it. Oh, absolutely, we loved it.
Yeah.
However, we were not going to the Super Bowl, even if we had won that game. We were not going to the Super Bowl.
Well, I mean, all we had to do, obviously, with Tampa Bay, if we would have just beat Tampa Bay, we would have gone, right? Because they were the best team besides us. We would have beat everybody else. And that game against us, that was the closest game that Tampa Bay had through their entire run, including the Super Bowl.
It is absolutely true.
So we were the second best team that year.
And in hindsight, it was probably the worst thing that happened for us, because then we fell in love with Taylor Heineke. And everybody wanted to build around Taylor. Oh, man, if we just build around this. That was the worst thing to happen for us.
Not in that moment. Not in that moment.
For him, it was wonderful because he went on and made some money.
Yes,
and we were all happy. And we were all happy for him for doing that. But that was the worst thing that happened for us as a franchise, though.
Well, we've turned the page on Taylor Heineke. Thanks for the excitement, the highs and the lows. But we're talking Jayden Daniels, the future, hopefully, of this franchise for another 10, 12, 15 years. You never know. These quarterbacks are playing into the late 30s, early 40s. So stay healthy and enjoy playing. And we might have. I mean, can you imagine having Jayden for another 15 years?
Hey,
that's a lot of success. You're having success if he's around for 15 years.
This is true. However, I don't know. I don't know if I'm in the minority or the majority on this, man. But I need some more proof.
Oh,
I need some more proof. Because I know I'm still sensitive to the RG3 era, man. I need to see him do this a little bit more. He's far ahead of the play that we got from RG3 in 2012. I will admit to that, but I need to see you do this again, man. And listen, I'm excited. I'm riding the wave. I love what we're seeing, but we've seen a lot of guys that have either did good in training camp and they disappeared during the season, or they splashed during the season and then it just fell off. I just need to see it one more time. I'm optimistic now. Let me just say, let me be clear. I'm very optimistic in what we've seen. There's a lot of reasons that you can look at Jayden and say this is real and this is sustainable. But I still got to see it though.
Well, and I will say that I'm not talking talent here, all right? But the advantages that Jayden has over Heineke in that era, all right? I'm not trying to say that Jayden's not better than Heineke, okay? Don't mix that. But the advantages he has besides talent, the advantages that he has is we see the drafting that Ron Rivera did, how poorly he drafted, as well as Ron Rivera went dirt cheap on the offensive line. Right. And on top of that, didn't have a whole lot of money. He had some money, but he didn't have a whole lot of money. Going, based off of this year, we anticipate that the draft picks will be better over the next year or two. That none of the draft picks, minimal amount of draft picks, helped Taylor Heineke, along with a lot of money to beef up the offensive line, get him another wide receiver, whatever the case may be. Heineke didn't have the luxury of all those positive things around him besides his play. But
it's not just Heineke. It was Heineke, the fan base,
yeah.
Everybody didn't get the benefit of everything because the way the organization front office was doing some things. It was not good. It's funny that we didn't know just how poor as an organization we were until what we see now. You start getting quality free agents. You
Right.
get, you get some quality draft picks. You get the right guys. You get a good system. You get a good offensive coordinator. And let's be honest, free agents and coordinators and coaches didn't want to come to Washington because we weren't a good organization. And so for us to finally get some good talent, not only in the coaching department but also in free agents and things, we now realize just how poor of an organization we were. And but that's back in the day, man. That's one we can look back and say that's not us. We looking at the Giants. We're looking at teams like the Giants and Jacksonville and Carolina, right? That's not us. You look at the Jets. That ain't us, right? And you're not gonna get any sympathy
teams
from
in
the
bad situations there. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. You don't get any sympathy from the Washington fan base. We're like, we went through 20-something years of this. But when it comes to teams being in the news and getting talked about as terrible and horrible organizations, they're not talking about us.
No, we've got a new shiny car. We're not driving the jalopy around and keep on putting on, buying used tires to keep it running. Cracked windshield, smoke coming out of the exhaust.
We got brand new, son. We come off the showroom floor,
and still tuning it up for it to be a sports car, right? It's coming out, but now we're doing upgrades on that. It might become illegal on the streets.
We still got the new car smell. We got that new car smell on ours still yet.
Hey, between free agency and the draft, we might even get some fuzzy dice to put up in the mirror, man.
That's what But anyway, if you tuning in to us, we appreciate you tuning in. Please go ahead and like and share and subscribe to our podcast. Because we always appreciate people tuning in and listening and giving us feedback and things of that nature. But this podcast is going to be about Washington facing the hated Philadelphia Eagles. All right, the Birds from the north are going to come down south a little bit, and this is going to be good. We've played these guys once already. I think we played them in week 11 on a Thursday night. It was a short week after a loss to the after a loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Correct.
And it was a hard-fought game, but we lost 26-18. It was a close game until Saquon Barkley decided to shift gears on us and just put this game away. But it was close to, I think, the third or fourth quarter, whatever it was. But we lost, and so we get a rematch with these guys come Sunday, and it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, touching on that, the way the game, for those that don't recall, we were winning 7-3 at halftime. We had held them to 3 points, right? After the third quarter, during the third quarter, we scored a field goal and they scored a field goal, 10-6, right? Game could still go either way, obviously.
We're still feeling good at this point, right?
But a little bit nervous because there's some missed opportunities that we didn't capitalize on it, and probably they feel the same way. But man, the gates opened up and they scored 16 points, and we scored a touchdown with an extra point for the final score of, like you said, 26-18, Philly ahead there. Jaden Daniels, I thought that was a game where their defense made it very challenging for Jaden. The numbers might not show that he struggled, but they contained him, so he didn't get nearly the amount of runs. Our game plan, he was 22 for 32 on that, still 69%, but he'd been throwing at 75 to 80, low 81%. So he was down a notch. He was just out of sync. Their defense did a good job. I mean, he's played them once now. I don't think they're going to do the exact same thing, but they're probably going to do a lot of the similarities to make him uncomfortable and have the offensive kind of sputter like we did that game. Because that was kind of one of the first, only a couple games where we did sputter up to that point. We lost to Pittsburgh the week before, but we still scored 27 points and was moving the ball. We actually moved the ball more than 27 points. We just had some drop passes and some other things that hurt us, because we could have easily scored another 7 to 10 points during the Pittsburgh game. But that was a game against Philly where, like I said, they made it uncomfortable and definitely gave Jaden a challenge that game.
Yeah, they did. The thing that they did in that game was they were able to put pressure on us with a 4-man front, right? They didn't do a lot of exotic blitzes, and that allowed them to play the back end of their defense in a way that was also troublesome for Jake Daniels. They bracketed Terry, and no one was able to kind of step up and help the offense move in a way that we needed them to move. And so between Terry not getting any touches, very many touches, and Jayton not being able to do things with his legs, he had kind of a pedestrian type day against, night, because it was a Thursday night game, but they had kind of a pedestrian type performance against the Eagles. And so if they're able to get any, that type of pressure on our O-line this game, then I think it's going to be pretty much a lot of the same stuff. Because also when we caught them, if I recall, they didn't have a lot of their offensive weapons even at that time. They had a few guys that were out, and yet we still couldn't get it done against them on that Thursday night. So we'll see.
Yeah. It I said it was mixed, right? Because I don't care, Philly has a productive offense. If you tell me that after 3 quarters they're only going to score 6 points, I'll take that all day. So to a point, our defense held up well. All of a sudden, you mentioned it, Saquon Barkley all of a sudden had 1 catch and 2 runs, and that was like half of all of his yards for the day there in the fourth quarter. That, like I said, I think it was one catch for 45 yards, and then 2 big runs of 20, 30 yards, just big gashing runs that just changed the game right there. And like I said, we'll see what we can do on that. Try to limit that. But
well, hang on. But to your point, though, looking at the stats here, Saquon Barkley finished the game with 26 carries for 146 yards, and I understand a lot of that came on a couple of big runs and late in the game, but it was still 26 carries for 146 yards. And by comparison, Brian Robinson, because we had a pretty potent running game, through the season, that was a big part of our offense. And Brian Robinson had 16 carries for only 63 yards. And so our run game was not good. Jayton's legs wasn't a part of the run game, and Brian Robinson wasn't able to get it going on the run game. And so it showed itself in what we had prided ourselves on as a team through, during the season up to that point. And that was 4th down and 3rd downs. And in that game, we were 3 for 12 on 3rd down and by comparison, Philadelphia was 9 of 16. So when you convert third downs, you're getting a new set of downs, and 3 for 12 for Washington on third downs. Again, we just were not able to do and get in a good rhythm offensively. And Philly hung around. And whether you can say the defense wore down or they found something that they could capitalize on, but man, they got going in the second half, and then the game just got blowed out at that point.
Yeah. I think we scored that touchdown late with a 2-point conversion, but they basically went on a 20-point run unanswered. I think it was, if I remember right. But we will see. We'll see. I think it's going to be interesting. I know they've got a couple of their wide receivers back. I'm going to be interested to see the matchup between Marshawn Lattimore and my guess is AJ Brown. And I don't know if he's going to follow him from left side, right side, wherever he goes, or if he's just going to take a side of the field. But considering how he played last week, it makes me feel a whole lot better moving forward. Granted, it's a different level of wide receivers he's facing this week versus what he faced at the Saints, but after 1 week, the coaches knowing what he can do. I don't know if they were shadowing a safety just in case here and there. Maybe they can do that a little bit less and put a rotation on the other side to help out the other cornerbacks and safeties. We'll see. I think it adds a big dynamic for Lattimore to be there if he continues to play like he did last week.
Yeah, and I personally, I know we've made kind of a big deal of the fact there was no targets and no catches and all the things that happened during that game, but I have to question whether or not, obviously New Orleans were familiar with his skill set. Then on top of that, he's very familiar with their offense, right? And so there's a little bit of, we have to be careful because he knows what we do. He knows some of our play calls. He knows some of our formations and things of that nature. So I didn't overreact to his 0-0-0 stat line in that game. What I was more happy about is that he was back on the field, supposed to be fully healthy, maybe knock off a little rust, get a little bit of working out some kinks and some wrinkles playing on the field with with new teammates, and just kind of showing how we can talk and communicate doing a live game. And so we kind of got a kind of a dress rehearsal, if you will, for this Philadelphia game, because I feel much better with him coming back a week earlier than versus coming back in his first game against Philadelphia and AJ Brown. So for me, that was good. But what was also good from last week is I'm glad we won, but it was ugly. And so I think the fact that it was an ugly win and the players didn't seem to be overly excited how we won, it'll keep the focus, knowing that they're going to play just as much of a physical team against the Philadelphia Eagles as the defensive front that the Saints had, because they played very physical.
Right.
The Saints defense was playing very, very well. And we know, though, the 8 sacks, and some of those were by Jake Daniels. He took some sacks, some of them for no yards and things of that nature. But there was still a lot of pressure and bullying of our offensive line. So guess what? That's a little bit of a tune-up for what they're going to see this Sunday against the Philadelphia Eagles. So, I like those are some of the pros that I can take away from last week against the New Orleans Saints. But with Lattimore potentially lining up against AJ Brown, I'm going to assume that Saren Steele is probably going to line up against Devontae Smith. And so now it's mano a mano, and I feel good about that matchup with those two on the outside as opposed to Brown and St. Juice and Forbes and some other guys that we would have had to have thrown out there in weeks past.
Right.
And so I think we're going to match up pretty good on the outside. The question will become whether or not our defensive line can get some pressure on Jalen Hurts and make him uncomfortable, make him do some things that he's not used to doing, and maybe our secondary can capitalize on that pressure.
Yeah, it's funny because I was just about to bring up, based off of what you're saying there. Last week, Dorrance Armstrong had two I thought were very, very extremely weak roughing the quarterback calls, but
Dante Fowler as well.
Yeah, and Fowler as well. But that's actually what I meant to say. It was Dante Fowler had the two, and then I don't know if Armstrong had one or not. I apologize. I got the two guys mixed up there. But the pressure, it was the pressure that Fowler was putting on, right? And I mean, he was in the face, constantly putting pressure. And so if they can keep that, we'll see. Yeah, I think this year, one of the things that we have seen very little of consistently is pressure up the middle, without any blitz. The Deron Paynes, early on before Jonathan Allen got hurt. Jonathan Allen, Johnny the Big Fig Newton, Mathis. Is that Johnny Mathis? I don't know. But,
you'll create a new player for us. I know.
I got to do what I got to do, man. But I think that those tackles, and they need to clog up the middle, right? They need to clog up, and because this year when running backs have gotten these big gashing yards, it hasn't been around the outside, right? It's right up through the gut, and all of a sudden, the linebackers either get picked up with a block or they shoot a gap one way and the gap opens up in another place, and next thing you know, they're in the secondary within a step and a half through the line, and it's trouble. That's exactly what happened with Saquon Barkley, the last time we played him. So, I'm interested to see what our tackles do in this game.
Yeah, I am too, man, because, as I think about this, they are a different team this time around, right, than when we met them the first time. And they've gotten their offense going. I know they had some struggles a few weeks ago, but last week, man, they got clicking and got going. And the running game has always been there. And so just by comparison, just the last game in week 11, as a team, I mentioned to you between Barkley's rushing stats compared to Brian Robinson, but as a team rushing, that's going to include all your backups, Jayden Daniels, quarterbacks, and everything, right? So right. Washington as a team for the entire game had a total of 28 carries for 93 yards and 1 touchdown. That was as a team, collective unit.
Right. Probably one of our worst of the season.
Right. Eckler, everybody. Okay.
Right.
By comparison,
not playing, but anyway.
No, but he played in that game. I'm comparing last game.
Oh, the last game. I thought you meant last week. Okay. Yeah.
No, I'm comparing the last matchup.
Right.
We carried the ball for 28 times for 93 yards, 1 touchdown. That was our collective running game, which at this point was a consistent of Eckler, Robinson, and Jayden Daniels. The right. Eagles, as a team, had 40 carries, almost double, and they had 228 yards and 3 touchdowns. So that defense allowed 228 yards rushing. And so to the point that you're making about the defense being able to, the defensive tackles being able to get some pressure, get some penetration, stop the run, force the running backs to bounce it outside, all of that kind of stuff. And this was when their offense wasn't that good.
Right.
But now that they've gotten the offense, the passing offense are much better, we now have to be worried about that as well. And I'm not going to expect Marshawn Lattimore to just come on here and be the missing piece and expect him to be the difference maker on defensive secondary. He should, and he should be able to make an impact. But this is going to take all 11, right? This is going to take all. It doesn't matter if he's locking down a wide receiver out there, but then the other guys are on the other side of the field allowing big catches, whether it's to the tight end because linebackers and safeties aren't covering, missing blocks, missing tackles, or the other corners that are on the other side, or again, missing communication or whatever. So it's going to take all 11, not just with Marshawn Lattimore. So that's a concern. It's a concern. And I know we haven't touched on it yet, but, of course, we're talking about the defensive tackles up the middle. But to everyone's surprise, John Allenton is back at practice. Now, he practiced. He wasn't just out there and they're saying, hey, we're going to potentially bring him back. He was at practice. And I saw some of the video, and that doesn't look like a guy who is still nursing a partial tear on his pec.
Right.
I think Dan Quinn said they looked at this about a month ago and realized how realistic. And so they've opened up the 21-day window on him. And if he doesn't play this Sunday, he's playing next week.
Right.
Sunday night against Atlanta. I mean, that's how fresh and well he looked in practice today. And we'll get into this probably a little bit later, but we just want to kind of touch on it. But there are people out there who doesn't want John Allen back. And I'm like, it's not like this defense has played a hell of a lot better when he was out.
Right.
Right. We need depth. He's a Pro Bowl caliber player. And this is not about, well, they're paying him too much and he's not doing anything. He's a body. He's a depth piece. He knows how to play. So you know what? Suit up, brother. Suit up and go tackle somebody.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna sit him on the sideline just because he's not earning the money that we're paying. He's on the team no matter what. He's gonna get paid no matter what. So you know what? Put them pads on. Let's go, brother. But I do believe if he doesn't, based on what I saw, if he doesn't play this week, he's playing next week.
Yeah, and is whether he's back next season or not is not an issue this season, right? If he's able to play and he's better than Johnny Newton or Mathis or whoever, I want him in there playing.
I do too.
Plain and simple, right? We've got 3 games before to get into the playoffs. Realistically, we need to win 2 out of 3. If we can win all 3, especially with Philadelphia being one of them, I'll feel a whole lot better going into the playoffs and saying, hey, maybe we can cause a little bit of noise. Are we going to win the Super Bowl? Maybe not, but it'd be nice to win a game or 2 and kind of make some noise, get all happy and excited. But they're going to, our defense needs to step up, be a solid core because defense comes into play even more in the playoffs, right? All of a sudden you have a team. If a team makes a run, normally it's not all of a sudden their offense is exploding. It's their defense has stepped up and starts being a high caliber defense. That's what normally ends up getting you into the Super Bowls.
And one thing about this matchup this week is Philadelphia will potentially see some defensive schemes, some alignments that they haven't seen from Washington. It doesn't mean that Philadelphia is not going to do some things differently against us, but there's certainly some things that they've not seen because of the addition of Marshawn Lattimore that they've not seen Washington do. And so they're going to deploy some things that hopefully will be a difference maker in the game.
Right.
And be a difference as to why Washington potentially has a chance to win this game on Sunday.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's gonna be a tall task.
Well, you can take a risk here and there and feel better this week than you did 3 or 4 weeks ago about leaving any cornerback one-on-one. If you do let's just say you do a full out blitz, right? You're sending the house, and everybody's one-on-one. You feel better with Lattimore being there, right? He's going to cover the what would typically maybe be the hot route on a blitz. He's going to be there. The other side needs to take care of that, or whoever's covering the tight end, or whoever is there in the situation. But from a defensive coordinator perspective, it gives you more options, right? You don't feel as bad about leaving a guy out there on an island by himself if he's a Pro Bowl cornerback. But we'll see. We'll see.
Well, they have to do it, man. I mean, we can talk about it. I know they're working on it, and I'm pretty sure they want to go out here and execute and play better than what they did not only last time, but hopefully the last few weeks. Because again, we talked about it last time. For some reason, the second half, certainly the fourth quarter, this team is the worst. The 32nd ranked defense in the fourth quarter, and that can't be a trend that can continue the last part of the season. If you're going to make some noise in the playoffs, like you're mentioning here,
right,
they're going to have to get that together.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so something's going to have to give. They can't keep doing that.
Well, kind of good news, bad news. Based off of last week, Zach Ertz didn't practice this week, or hasn't practiced this week, and is in the concussion protocol. Something that kind of flagged to me that he's probably not going to play is they went and signed a tight end to the practice squad, Tyree Jackson, former New York Giant. It may be just a precaution. I don't know how bad it is, but at the same time, they didn't make any moves at safety, and Chin was out there running around in practice. Now, he wasn't any kind of contact at practice today, but he was running around and kind of off to the side and seeing how he feels. Clearly, he's headed in the right direction if they've got him doing that, because he was also on concussion protocol from this previous game against the Saints. So,
yeah, I would say if you're signing a tight end to the practice squad, that's a good indicator the Ertz won't be playing. I mean, we won't know the full results, I guess, until Friday. And so at the time of this recording, we don't know if Ertz or Chin is going to play. But, signs are pointing to Chin potentially plays. Ertz probably going to be out, right?
Right.
And so with that being the case, that begs the question on what we do on the offensive side of the ball. We talked about it earlier that the Eagles pretty much blanketed and took Terry out of the offense, and we had no one else to step up. Noah Brown was playing at that time. Diami Brown was there. All those guys were there, right? Luke McCaffrey. Ben Sinnott was still on the team. You got, I'm going to say this, Ken, I want you to try it. Olamide Zaccheaus. Can you say it with me?
I cannot. And you know what? I can't even verify if you said it right. I would like to give you a hard time, but I can't even verify that you said it right or wrong. So I just got to let it pass.
Oh, man. Olamide Zaccheaus. That's his name.
Okay.
If your mama's calling him Olamide, I'm going to call him Olamide.
That's not what everybody in high school called him, or at college. It's called him Z, Big Z. What's up, Z?
But all these guys was on the team at the time, and so none of these guys were able to step up and get some production with Terry. In fact, I think, let me see, I had a stat here. In that game against Philly last time, our top two wide receivers last game was Eckler and Ertz.
Right.
And potentially neither one of those guys are going to be playing or suited up and playing on this Sunday. Eckler, obviously, on IR, and Zach Ertz, again, potentially not playing because they signed a tight end to the practice squad. So the top two receivers from the last matchup won't be playing. So who's going to step up? Again, this is calling on you, Diami Brown, Luke McCaffrey, Zaccheaus, Jamison Crowder's back. Is this the Ben Sinnott game? I mean, I don't know what's going to happen, but they're going to need some of these guys to do a little bit something, man, to kind of step up here, because if if they show that taking Terry out of the game is our kryptonite on the offensive side of the ball, and damn it, they're probably going to do it again until you
Right.
prove to them that that's a mistake. And so, somebody's going to step up, and I have no doubt that Cliff and Dan Quinn have self-scouted and understand that that's part of what they need to do, right? That was also the game where I think it was highlighted by the media and even some fans about how the fact that they never moved Terry around. And ever since then, we've seen them start moving Terry around. And they talked about that might have been the difference in the game, because they knew exactly where Terry's going to be every single snap. And so, again, self-scouting as an organization, as a team, as an offense, I'm pretty sure these are all the things that they are going to think about and do differently in this matchup. But at the end of the day, you got to execute it, man. Got to execute it.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. Are we at that time, Rich?
I think we are at that time.
All right. If we don't have any audio difficulties, let's try it out here.
It's a little faint.
But
I think people.
Sorry, we've been having
a
little troubles with the board there. But it's time for what's your name, what's your number, where we give our confidence level of Washington walking away with a win. Doesn't guarantee anything. Doesn't have to do with the score. It's just walking away with a win at the end of the day. Just like the Saints last week. It wasn't pretty. Walked away with a win, right? The ground started shaking a little bit, and we thought we might be in trouble, but at the end of the day, we got the win. But
it was the voodoo. It was the voodoo. I'm telling you, man.
Voodoo, and I'll go ahead and take the blame on that. Normally I would try to deflect somewhere, but I got to take the full blame on that one. Reg, you want to go first with your number?
I'll go first, man. I'm going to keep mine short and sweet here. I talked about it just briefly here, just a second ago, in fact, about who's going to step up opposite of Terry. We know what the defense needs to do. They need to deploy a lot of what they did last time and be able to control their running game. And I think their running game obviously is going to affect their passing game, but you control their run game, but you do it for 4 quarters, not just for 3.5. You got to do it for 4 full quarters. And then on Washington, on the offensive side, who's going to step up? Because, again, I don't think Ertz is going to play. I believe they're going to try to take Terry out of the game, because I would, right? And so who's going to be the other option on the other side? There's no Eckler out of the backfield. Noah Brown is not suited up. So someone else is going to have to step up. And how do you manufacture points and yardage on the offensive side of the field? Philly's a good team, right? This game is going to mean something to them. They are, I think, 1 game behind Detroit for the number 1 seed in the NFC. And as a virtue of that, of the play that they have put together, despite all of the turmoil that we see within an organization, little nugget for you, Ken. This is, did you know, kind of a segment, the 20th straight season that the NFC East would not have a repeat winner.
Yes, I didn't know that.
That is crazy. This is the 20th straight year. And I'm going to sidetrack here just for a second. Of those 20 seasons, New York has won the division twice. Washington has won the division in those 20 years 4 times. Dallas has won it 7 times. And Philly has won it 6. But I'm going to go ahead and say 7 for the 20th year. They're going to be the 7th, because at this point, they're probably going to win the division. In fact, I think we can't win the division, but they're going to win the division. So 7 for the Phillies, 7 for Dallas, 4 for Washington, and 2 for the Giants. So we've had a little bit of success in the past 20 by winning the division.
Right.
But at any rate, with that being the case, man, my confidence number that we win this game is actually at a 4. I do not think we pull this win out. I think Philly is just more talented. I think we are still a young team that's still learning. I said it before. There's nothing that I've seen thus far that makes me believe that we can beat the top teams. Every of our 5 losses, with the exception of the one against Dallas, were all good teams. And guess what? Philly's a damn good team. Will this be the first time we get one? Maybe. But they're not one of those bad sub 500 teams that we've been kind of putting 30 and 40 points on and blowing them out. And I don't see enough in year one that our organization or our franchise has that can beat the good teams. And until we do, I can't say that we will. And so I'm going to give this a confidence number of a 4.
Okay. And all legitimate reasons for your numbers. I don't think you're too far off base on any of your explanations of that. I do think that Washington every year has a game where they get everything right. They've done it against Philly. Was it last year, a year before? They did it against Pittsburgh when they were undefeated. They do it here and there. And like you said, the challenges of last week, I don't know. There's by no means is it a wake up, right? It is the difference last week between blowing New Orleans out and leaving them in the game was a handful of small things, right? But it's those small things that keeps a team in. Penalties, right? They had penalty after penalty after penalty. But this week is a challenge. I think if we had Ertz healthy, if we had Eckler healthy, I mean, those are number 2 and number 3 offensive weapons that we have behind Terry, and they're both gone. To your point, I'm interested to see who's going to be the next person. Last week, Brian Robinson, he carried the ball. I don't have the stats in front of me. He was 24-ish times, and everybody else, not named Jalen, carried the ball, I think, 3 times. 3 times or 4 times. So he's carrying the majority of the load, to where before him and Eckler would split time. And so he carried the ball most of the time, and then he had all the catches out of the backfield. Rodriguez and what's his name? Nichols. I don't think either one of them had a catch out of the backfield. So one of those 2 guys needs to step up this week. They don't need to carry half the load, but they need to give him some relief. So if it comes down to the
but you get the center Title Biotish back, I think will help, right?
Yeah. But I think where this game comes down to me, is kind of 2 things. Who on the offense is going to step up and be a target for Jaden? If Jaden needs to carry this team like he did, from a game here and there, where he's obviously throwing the ball, but we're relying on him multiple times to pick up the first down with his legs. That's not what we want against Philly. Of all the teams, that's not what we want against Philly. 2 or 3 times, that's fine. But I look at this game and I'm interested in what our front 7 is going to do. Can we control Saquon Barkley like we did for the first 3 quarters the last game? And can we put pressure on Jalen Hurts? I think we can. I think we're going to do better with that. I feel comfortable with our secondary with the addition of Lattimore, but we shall see. Those are all the challenges that I have there. I think if we get turnovers, we got to do something with it. There's a lot of ifs and buts on my number here of things that need to go right. I'm like you. This is going to be a challenge to walk away with this win. I don't think it's something that I'm not saying we can't win, but right now I don't think we end up winning this game. My number is also at a 4. Really? I was debating on going to a 4.5, but I realistically, I got to stick with a 4. It's not that we can't, It's that some of the things that we haven't seen, why are they all of a sudden going to happen?
We've not done anything all year that makes you think we can win this game.
Well, it's look
against good team.
For us to win this game against anybody, somebody else on offense needs to step up that hasn't so far. Whether it's De'Ami Brown, whether it's a McCaffrey, whoever it is, none of these people have had, 5 catch, 70-yard games, right? De'Ami might have had that many, but it's off of 1 or 2 catches, and one of those have been big catches. We need somebody to be an impact, make 5, 6 catches, even for 60 yards. Doesn't have to blow it up, but you are a target. You are a target for this game. And, if Jaden has in the first quarter has 3 or 4 runs in the first quarter, it's not going to go well for the game, for the entire game. I would love for him to not have a single run, even a scramble in the first quarter. Right. Because that means he's using the weapons around him the way a traditional offense should be. Later on, okay, you can have a little rollout or play breaks down and he takes off. But if he hasn't run at all in the first quarter, it means our offensive line is giving him a moment. Guys are getting open and he's hitting.
I'm going to slightly disagree. I don't know that I want him under duress the way we saw him last week against the Saints, where he's running around and he falls on the ground and he used the ball to keep from falling and he jumps up and make a play. I don't want to see nothing like that. But if there's some bootleg and some design runs that he's getting out and he's using his legs to extend drives like we saw early in the season, where we were in a lot of 3rd and shorts, going forward on 4th downs, the aggressiveness of Cliff Kingsbury, again, 4th and inches, 4th and 1, 3rd and short. I'm okay with that. You fake it to B-Rob, you roll out, and man, Jayden is just able to pick up 10 yards with his leg. I'm okay with that. I don't want to see Jayden running around under duress the entire game, having to escape the pocket because of the pressure he's getting. I don't want to see that, because if you got some design runs, then a lot of times it's under control. When it's under duress, man, people are coming from all over the place, and that's how he gets hurt. So to me, the using his legs is a little bit where it's just how he's using his legs. So I'll be okay with. I didn't like the running around that we saw last week.
But how they took care of him and somewhat contained him, they're going to be looking, right? Because of our injuries and problems that we have, they're going to be looking for Jaden Daniels and Terry. Like those 2 guys, one is downfield and one is behind the line of scrimmage. We're going to work to contain those. So
maybe you don't do an RPO.
Well, I don't think that they're going to bite on the fake handoff, the option. Not that they're running a college option, but the RPO or play action. I don't think they're going to bite on it until we have success.
I understand, but you don't do an RPO because they're not going to take that. What you do is you're running, everyone's pulling to the left and you bootleg out the back. And it's just either there's no one back there or it's him and the defensive end, the backside defensive end. And Jayden is quick enough to make those guys miss. Or maybe this is where the screen game comes back and be a part of our offense. I don't know, but they're going to have to do something, because just mano a mano, I don't think we win this game. But to your point, we always seem to have that one game where everyone counted us out, man, and we go in there and we win. And maybe this is that game. I sure would hope for it to be, but we'll see, man. We'll see.
Yeah,
I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. So.
Yeah, we'll be we'll have our chips and salsa and maybe an adult beverage. Not me, but maybe there'll be some adult beverages flowing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And for those that don't know, at our sports bar, right on the other side of the wall, is the nasty Philadelphia Eagles fan club is right on the other side of the wall. So we got to hear them when they cheer. We would love to be able to walk out with smiles on our face and watch them try to walk out without even looking at us. That'd be nice for a change, but
that'd be nice.
We shall see,
because they already got one up on us. But anyway, we'll be back. We'll be back, guys, folks, and we'll do a post game. Hopefully, it'll be a little victory post game podcast. But either way, we be back here with our thoughts and opinions. Let you know what we saw, what we witnessed, and how we feel about it. And but unless you got something else, Ken, I'm good. We can shut her down.
Absolutely. Until next time, peace out, knuckleheads.
Peace out, y'all.